Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Katie Witzmer. I'm an author, and my 11th book, Tell Me It's Right, comes out on September 25th. And today we're going to be talking about marketing, prepping for a book release, PR, arcs, all that kind of stuff, specifically for this book release and what I'm doing this time around for my 11th book. Pretty much every book release I've had so far has all been different with my approach. I've done completely different things. I like to approach a book release like an experiment. I like to try new things just to see how they'll go. So there is kind of a part one to this video. It's over on my Patreon page where I talked about setting up this plan and all of the thought that went into it, why I was doing it, how I was doing it. It's over a 30-minute long video, so I'm not going to get into it here. You don't have to watch that to understand this video, but if you want more content like this one, that's a great video to start with. That video was basically, here's my plan. This video is going to be a check-in on how that plan has panned out thus far. I am making this still at the beginning of September, so the book hasn't come out yet, so I can't show you results as far as like how did the release go and how many sales and everything, but I can show you response rates, and I have a lot of numbers. If you're familiar with my channel, you know I love a good pie chart, so we've got lots of charts and stats and numbers for today, and also just some like reflections and observations on what I've seen so far with this go around. So before we jump into all of that, let me tell you a little bit about the sponsor for today's video, which is Skillshare. I think Skillshare could be a great resource for you no matter what part of the process you're in as far as writing or publishing goes. They're an online learning community that has classes in a really wide variety of different topics, from outlining and brainstorming an idea, writing the actual book, editing the book, and then also once you get into the publishing side of things, marketing, advertising, creating content, the algorithm for the different social media apps. A class that's caught my eye recently is actually on Facebook ads. It's called Scale Your Business with Facebook Ads, Learning from Spending 150 Million. Facebook ads is a big part of my marketing strategy, not just for book releases, but just long term. I always have Facebook ads running in the background, and I feel like they do pretty well for me, but I also by no means am an expert, and I kind of like shy away whenever people ask me for advice about them because I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to give advice. So I definitely feel like I could learn more. I'm definitely curious to take this class, especially if you're doing self-publishing like I do. I think Skillshare could be a great place for you because they have classes on literally every step of the process and all of the skills that you'll need. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link down below in my description. The first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Highly recommend. And without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. So like I said, that Patreon video is like over half an hour long, so there's no way for me to like briefly summarize everything that I talked in that video, but I'm gonna try. Basically, my marketing plan for this book, this go around, especially for the book release, was I wanted to do a much larger push than I've ever done in the past. This is a small town romance book, and I am a genre flip-flopper, which means I make headaches for myself and I'm a marketing nightmare. And this is my first time publishing a contemporary book in over 2 years now. I've been publishing fantasy books, so I just felt like this book release doesn't have the same kind of organic momentum that my last couple of releases have had because I haven't been publishing consistently in this genre. So I wanted to give it its best chance, and I wanted to put a lot into this release, especially because this is going to be the first book in a new series. So I wanted to make a splash with this one, basically. I feel like I might have gotten a little bit lazy with my last couple of releases because that series has just done so well in general that like they sell themselves. So I didn't have to do much for the book releases to be successful, and like knock on wood, like I was so lucky for that. I don't think we can't afford to do that with every book, unfortunately, so we needed to get our shit together on this one. So as far as like arcs and setting up PR boxes and everything, which is mainly what we're going to be talking about today, I actually don't tend to do much of this, or at least I haven't for the last several book releases. Many books I didn't send out any arcs for, like later books in the series. And then even the books that I have sent arcs out for, very few, like very few have gone out. The only book of mine that had like a huge number of arc readers was my first novel, The Anti-Virginity Pact, that came out in 2020. So it's been over 4 years since we've done something big. And even then, like, we won't even get into the disaster that release was. We're not gonna talk about that here. So this is a completely new plan, completely new experience. So basically, I didn't want to hire a PR company. I didn't want to use an assistant this time. I wanted to do it all myself, both because like obviously, yes, that saves you money, but also, like I said, I like to experiment. I like to have all of the behind the scenes and the stats and the numbers and figure it out for myself. I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to be completely in control of the situation. So I compiled a list of influencers, arc readers, everyone I was going to reach out to, and then I split them up into a bunch of different categories in my spreadsheet whether they were from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whether I was going to offer them a PR box or just an ARC. And then I also opened up applications, posted about them, offered it up to my audience so other people could come to me and apply. So I had the people that I was reaching out to and then the people who came to me. Between all of those options, we ended up with about 250 people. Not all of them got stuff, but that's how many people either I contacted or showed interest to me. Again, this is something that I talked about a little bit in that other video. I promise I'm gonna stop saying that. As far as like budget, return on investment and everything with this book release, I kind of went into it not expecting and honestly not even caring if I got my money back or if I saw a return. I viewed this book release as a long-term plan. In the past, with my previous 10 books, a lot of my goals have been like, I want to see my money back within the pre-order period or the first week of release, the first month of release. And that was always like my baseline goal, is like, I want to make back all of the money that I invested into this book. And I feel like in a lot of ways that had me playing small and limited me, but also like take this with a grain of salt depending on what part of your career you're in. I'm now in a really fortunate position where my other backlist titles are selling well, so I can afford to experiment like this and like put money into a book release without any guarantee of seeing it back. If you're in your first couple of releases, I think playing it safe the way that I did is actually smart. So just keep that in mind. I don't want anyone making financially irresponsible decisions because of me. So basically my thought process was really just like, I really wanted to get this book out there. First book in a series, different genre for me. My fantasy books have like really blown up. My contemporary has done that in smaller ways, but not in a sustainable way yet. And what I mean by that is like, one of my best-selling books is actually one of my contemporaries, but it hasn't been sustainable, I think, in part because I don't have as many contemporary books out. I don't publish them as consistently, and that book has like gone viral and sold a ton, but it's been in these windows where like it did really well for a while, but it hasn't like continued to sell like that after those viral moments. That's this book, if you're curious. It's the only book of mine that's ever gotten into the top 100 on the Kindle store. It was my bestseller for quite a long time, but the vampire books ended up replacing it, I think probably this past year. And so with this book release, I really wanted to like light a fire under this genre for me as a whole. It's the first book in a series, and I just wanted to get the word out there basically, and hope that in time that would come back to me and I'd see a return on that eventually. But seeing that quickly isn't really a priority for me with this book release. So as far as like budgets go and everything, honestly, I didn't have a number in mind for the budget. It was like, I'm gonna reach out to all of these people, and however many say yes or however many PR boxes I'm gonna send out. Because I knew like not all of them were gonna say yes. So anyway, that's kind of like my brief summarized version of like what the plan was. Again, there's that whole video that's like really long that goes into it in more detail, but that's your little backstory. Now I'm gonna get into the numbers. I'm gonna have to put timestamps down below so you can skip around in this video because this is gonna be long. So like I said before, 250 people total. Let me break that down a little bit more. The number of people that I reached out to was 162, and of that, 115 I offered ARCs to, and 47 I offered PR boxes to. And also the 47 that I offered PR boxes to, I basically had them fill out a Google form, and one of the questions was, would you also like to receive an ARC? So they also got the option for the ARC. So technically 162 people I asked for an ARC. And then I also had 88 applications come in. And then there's also some like miscellaneous things like one-on-one conversations that and arrangements that were made with people who didn't fill out my application but they've gotten ARCs before, like personal relationship kind of stuff. All in all, around 250. Out of all of those numbers, ARCs just went out for me yesterday. The number of ARCs that actually went out, 60. I have been packing up the PR boxes. I'm still waiting to get books in to be able to ship them out, but the number of PR boxes I'm going to be sending are 16. So let's get into it. I came up with some percentages because I was curious. Of the people that I asked if they wanted to receive a PR box, which was 47, 34% said yes to the PR box. Of the people that I asked if they wanted to receive an ARC, 20% said yes. And of the people who said yes to the PR boxes, 20% of them also wanted an ARC. Of all of the people that I reached out to, 162, 39 said yes. 9 did get back to me to say no, either because they were all, most of them were like really nice about it, being like, oh my god, that sounds so good, but like I already have so many ARCs, I wouldn't be able to get it done in time, like I can't fit into my schedule, that kind of thing. Or others came back to me asking me to pay them. We'll get into that later. And then 114, no response. So I got about a 30% response rate for these cold emails. Of the 250 potential possible ARCs that could have gone out, 60 went out. about 24%. Also, I wanted to take a look at like average follower counts for the people who said yes. I reached out to a really wide variety of accounts, small, medium, large, and I was just curious if there were any patterns and like what the average was for people who actually did get back to me and the people who said yes. And this was one of the most surprising things. We'll get more into this. I have a whole thoughts and reflections section. We'll get into that there. But here are the averages. So for the people that I reached out to just from Instagram, asking if they wanted an ARC, the average follower count for the people who said yes was 9,500. For people I reached out to on TikTok about the ARCs, 22,000 was the average. And then for the PR boxes for TikTok, the average was 98,000. For Instagram, 35,000. And then for YouTube, 100,000. That's like super skewed though, because I only have 3 YouTube people. And like one of them was the huge account. So take that with a grain of salt. I'll show you some pie charts and then we'll get into some thoughts and reflections. Of the people who got ARCs, this is what the breakdown looked like. 23 came from people that I personally contacted, 9 came from people who were also getting PR boxes, and then 28 came from the people who came to me via the applications. Of all the people that I reached out to, 24% got back to me with a yes, and then 76 were either a no or a no response. Now, although I said I don't usually do this on as grand of a scale, but that doesn't mean I haven't done this before, reaching out to people for PR boxes and ARCs. So I do have some previous experiences to compare this to, which is why a lot of this was surprising to me, because this went so differently than my previous experiences. So now we're into the thoughts and reflections section. Number 1, I was a little bit surprised by how low the response rates were. All of them were within like 20 to 30%. And I think I was basing this mostly off of my previous PR box experience, which was for Ruthless Ends, my previous book release. From what I remember from that experience, almost every single person that I reached out to, if they wanted a PR box, said yes to me. So I was kind of expecting the majority of the people, at least for the PR boxes, to say yes, because people like free stuff. The ARCs was less surprising to me, but the fact that I got so many no responses for a free PR box surprised me. Maybe it got lost in spam, I don't know. But for Ruthless Ends, I think I did this again on a small scale. I think I only ended up sending out like 12, but I think I only reached out to like 15 people. So it was almost everybody who said yes. So coming from that to whatever the percent was, 34% said yes to the PR boxes. That was surprising to me. I feel like a lot of factors could go into that, but at this point we're really just guessing. There's no way of knowing. It could have gotten lost in spam. It could be the genre is different and romantasy is really big right now. I did get a couple of emails back from people being like, I'm in my romantasy era. It could be the timing, because I did debate with myself over the timing of this release, because it is like a summery small town romance book. Is that mainly something people are going to want to read in the summer? Am I publishing it too late in September and now people are getting into like their spooky season TBRs? We'll never know. We'll never know exactly why. All I know is I was surprised. Now I want to talk a little bit about people asking to get paid. If you're on TikTok, you've probably seen this discourse, because people have been talking a lot about this lately. That's not what I'm talking about, that specific case with like the scamming of the authors and stuff. That's not what I mean here. And I also want to preface this, if you're newish to my channel or if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, I was a book influencer, content creator before I was ever an author. I started making videos in 2016 and I didn't start publishing until 2020. So I have 4 years under my belt of strictly being a book reviewer online. So like, I feel like I know more about this than the average author. Like, I have my own experience. I've done my own fair share of partnerships with authors and sponsorships. The video you're watching is sponsored. Like, I've probably done a good like 200 sponsors in my life. So I feel like I come into this with a unique perspective because I've been on both sides. So on the one hand, I completely understand creators wanting to get paid for the work that they do. And I also know just how much time goes into creating content. So I do not begrudge them that at all. So none of this is meant to be like a judgment on that. This is just my thoughts and my experience with this. For one thing, this is something that I've noticed as social media has grown and these new platforms have popped up like TikTok, and there's this whole like new wave of influencers and new generation or whatever, the legality of it. And I don't know if people don't know better, or they're being misguided by the brands that they're working with, or they don't care. You are legally obligated to disclose when you are being paid to talk about something, and a lot of people don't. And not only is that like ethically murky, because that can, you know, affect the trust that your audience has in you, but also like FTC wise, you can get fined like $50,000 for doing that. Like, you have to disclose when you've been paid to do something. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of I vetted like every single account that I reached out to, and I made sure that the content that they posted was like the content that I was looking for. And any accounts that I saw who were doing a ton of paid promotions and stuff, I specifically didn't reach out to because I knew I wasn't looking to do that. So the fact that I had a lot of people who I reached out to come back to me and be like, oh, these are my rates, and then I went back to their accounts to look at the videos that I had seen previously to make sure I hadn't missed something, and then realizing, oh no, all of those videos that I thought they were doing organically, they were paid for and they didn't disclose. It happened a lot. So if there's anything to take from that, if you're a newer author, if creators are asking you to do that, just make sure you're doing it correctly. They're supposed to be disclosing that. This also gets into kind of murky territory, specifically within the publishing industry, because obviously all different industries use influencer marketing and they do these paid promotions. It's a little bit different when it comes to books, because like, where is the line between I'm doing a book review and I'm doing a book promotion? You cannot pay for book reviews, but you could pay for a promotion, and they can look real similar is the problem. Not only is this like an FTC thing, but also it's against Amazon and KDP's terms of service. It could get your account shut down. Like, it could ruin your career as an author. You are not allowed to pay for reviews. So it was just something that was surprising to me, because I'm very clear with my wording when I reach out to people, like what I'm looking for. I'm looking for ARC readers, I'm looking for early reviews, I'm looking to send you a PR box. And again, there's nothing wrong with people wanting to get paid to do paid promotions, but I did have people come back to me asking to be paid to make reviews of the book, which to me is just like, you could say it's a paid promotion, but if you read the book and you're reviewing the book, what is the line? It's weird to me. It was like, I was also shocked by the numbers these people were getting back to me again. They can do whatever they want to do, run their business however they want to, but strangely, it was not like any of the big accounts that I reached out to who were doing this. It was all of these like smaller, like mid-sized ones. And yeah, no, those numbers that they were quoting me was really interesting. For like 15-second videos, they had fewer followers than I do, and they were asking for rates that I have never charged for a sponsorship ever, which they have every right to do. And if other people want to pay those prices, like, by all means. But an account with 3,000 followers asking for $600 for a 15-second video, like, I was just like baffled. I will say, if you're a newer author and you're wondering if this is going to be worth it for return on investment and paying for influencers, you can do what you like. I would just caution you, I don't think you're gonna see the sales that you are expecting. And it's also a lottery. The video could flop, and it's through no fault of the creator either. Like, you really can't account for when an app just decides not to push your content. I would just be wary. Specifically for me, I knew that was not the direction that I wanted to go with this marketing campaign, because I'm reaching out to hundreds of people. If I'm paying each of them $600, my PR boxes cost me like $17 to put together. I could have sent out 35 PR boxes for the cost of one 15-second video. I don't think that one video was going to bring in enough sales for that to be worth it. In my experience, nothing will top the effect of organic word of mouth, people who are just like genuinely excited about your book. With that said though, obviously I'm still sending out PR boxes, and I've done this before, and I have found these to be worth the return on investment. Putting together the boxes themselves, shipping has gone up, so that's at least like $7 or $8 per box if you're shipping in the United States, if your box isn't too heavy. And then printing's gone up, like everything's more expensive now. So for me, with my minimal boxes, where I really just put like the book and a character art print and some bookmarks, and I give them some tea and some stickers, like cheap, as cheap as I can make it, while still trying to make it a little bit special, it does get up to be about like $17 per box or somewhere around there. But honestly, the experience that I had with my previous book, Ruthless Ends, really made me just like more willing to pour money into PR boxes, because it went so well last time. And the thing is, it doesn't have to go so well with every single person that you send the box to. If even one of their videos takes off, it literally like changed my life last year. This video, I'll link Heather down below if you don't already follow her, if you like witchy, spooky fantasy and stuff like that. That's kind of her vibe. So I sent her a PR box for Ruthless Ends, and this video of hers got like over 300,000 views. And that video pretty much alone set me up for like 5 months. Like, I'm pretty sure that video brought in like $30,000 worth of book sales. It was nuts. So it has the potential for like a really high return. So the cost of like a $17 box, if it has the potential to do that, is worth it to me. So then also another observation which was interesting to me, I had a better response rate from bigger accounts, which I was not expecting in my experience. In my previous experience, smaller accounts were the ones who would like pretty much respond immediately, like really excited that they're given the opportunity because they don't get as many. Looking through my spreadsheets and just like scrolling through, the vast majority of the small creators that I reached out to didn't respond to me, which, I mean, they could have just like not been interested in the book. All the reasons that we listed earlier. The bigger accounts, like I'm sure they're more used to getting these kind of things in their inboxes. I was surprised. I did have some smaller accounts on my list, definitely. I would have expected more of them to respond to me, to be honest. In general, I actually kind of prefer working with smaller accounts. I feel like they have more authentic, genuine engagement. Like I said, they're usually like really enthusiastic and excited to get something. And then with the bigger accounts, I feel like the chance of them actually posting is a little bit smaller because they have so many more coming in. It makes sense. So that was just a surprise for me this go around. I feel like I reached out to a pretty even number of small, medium, and large accounts, and the medium and large ones by far replied to me the most. Which also, to be fair, if they are a bigger account, they might be doing social media kind of stuff full time, so they might have more time. Smaller accounts, full-time jobs, less times. But even for the PR boxes, fewer of them said yes to me, which is, you know, not the same kind of time commitment as an ARC. So just an observation. Okay, so final thoughts. Wrap this up. This video is so long. Obviously I can't get into like the results of the book release and whatnot. Stay tuned on the channel if that's something you want to see. Release is September 25th. We'll definitely talk about it after that. Probably like a week after, anywhere from like a week to a month after, once I feel like I've compiled enough data to talk about. But even before we've seen those results, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling like this was worth the time investment to put together these lists, reach out to everybody? Not only that, but then also like, not even like the initial email, but then once they did get the email, updating the spreadsheet, making all of the boxes, putting them together, sending out all of the ARCs, all of the admin stuff on the back end. So for one thing, I do kind of view this as, like I was saying, like a long-term plan, long-term investment, setting the groundwork for future releases too. Because I did, in the forms that I had set out, another thing that they could select yes or no on is if they wanted to be contacted in the future for other ARCs and other PR boxes and stuff. So now I do have this good list of a pretty long list of accounts that are interested in hearing from me again. So that cuts the work down a little bit for the next release. I don't have to absolutely start from zero again. I obviously saved money by doing this myself and not hiring a PR company or using an assistant or whatever. And I'm just like kind of a control freak. I like being in charge of everything. I like being able to see all of the responses, all of the data, all of the stats for myself. Some book releases in the past, I haven't had that like full control over things, and that's something I look back on and I wish I had, specifically this one. So this was quite a bit of time, but also this is something that I've been working on for months leading up to this. Like I didn't save it to the last minute. I started looking for accounts 3 months ago and like slowly compiling my list, and just like every time I would come across someone when I was randomly scrolling, I would like follow them and save it for later. So it's not like something I like sat down and just sat there for hours looking for people. It's something that's built up kind of naturally over time. Will I do it again in the future? Like I said, I do feel like I have like a good list to build on, so it could potentially be less of a time investment the next time around. And I usually don't put a huge emphasis on ARCs and PR boxes and stuff before a book release. Like I was saying at the beginning of the video, the vast majority of my book releases I like haven't done them for, or I haven't done a lot for, and then those books have gone on to be really successful. So I've definitely, through my personal experience, found it to not be make it or break it for a book. I just wanted to try something new. Just experiment with this book release and just see if this makes a difference. At the very least, I found some new readers. Pretty much none of the accounts that I reached out to had heard of me before or followed me before. So hopefully some of them read the book and enjoy it. We will get into that in the next update video on like how many of the people who said yes actually do go on to read the book and review the book. Those are my findings thus far. I'm also hopeful to get a few more reviews up around release day because I'm sending out some other books early. People who pre-ordered the signed books from me. As I'm getting them in, I'm just shipping them out immediately before release. So maybe some of them will review the book as well. I think that's all I have for you for today. All I have is this is like a 30-minute long video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, either about this stuff or just like what you would like to hear about in the next update video. If small town romance is your jam, I've got the links to the book down below in the description. I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. I'll also have that video on Patreon, the first part of this video. If you feel so inclined, my Patreon page is pay what you can, so no matter what tier you're part of, you get access to everything. And there are, I want to say like 500 posts over there at this point, so there is a huge backlog to make your way through if you would like. They get exclusive content over there every month, behind the scenes publishing stuff, a Q&A podcast where you can send any questions to me. If you want to check it out, it's down below. If you don't, you can just stick around on the channel. I also post tons of free content over here. I think that's all I have for you today. I hope you guys are all doing well. I'll just see you in the next one very, very soon. Make sure to check Skillshare out down below in the description if you're interested. Bye.
No. Pretty Caroline, oh, 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 stone cold stunner. She was a winner, started working at the dime. Oh, 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 serves you some reminder to count your blessings, 'cause it's telling fast, telling fast. They'll put you down and leave you dead, don't make them scared. Yeah, it's the ugly truth. How they coming for you. Yeah, yeah, no. Don't you think you're better off where the neighbors don't stare? Baby, you're wanted, looking good for the movie screens, living in make-believe, hoping your wishes get granted. I know you never giving up unless it's real. A slippery slope.